Regular meeting of the Clark County Council for April 9th, 2024 at 6:08 PM. Thank you folks for your patience. We're reviewing the employee policy handbook. Would you all rise for the pledge of allegiance? Vicki Weber, would you lead us this evening, please?
I'm happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Proof of publication? Thank you. Approval of the March 11th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Pass.
Second.
There's what, three of you? I have a motion by Councilperson Grooms and a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the March 11th, 2024 meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Amendments to the agenda.
There's just the one that everyone should have.
Transfer?
The transfer, and then I also just received a letter from the Jeffersonville Township Library Board. They would like us to make an appointment, if we can consider that.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended to include the transfer in location 71 and the Jeffersonville Township Library appointment. Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Lenford with a second from Councilperson Abbott to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
And one comment on the agenda, I asked Barbara to remove the line that says committee reports, because this council really doesn't have any committees or subcommittees that we've ever formed for any purpose, so I felt that was kind of misleading to the public that we even have committees or subcommittees, so that committee reports line has been removed.
Acknowledge receipt of funds report.
Question on the motion. That doesn't approve, the motion doesn't approve removal of the committee as an agenda item, does it?
No,
Thank you.
acknowledge the receipt.
Yeah, acknowledge receipt of funds report.
No.
Thank you. Any public comments? Oh, sorry. Caitlin Blissett?
Hello,
There's
Caitlin
a
Blessed.
Blissett?
You all require an address as well, 320 Mary Street, Jeffersonville,
No,
Indiana.
no.
Okay. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all so much for making documents available online. That was a big win for my citizen action group. We appreciate that. Documents being available ahead of the meeting, the agenda, things like that. So I know Mr. Abbott, Mr. Lidford, whoever else deserves credit, the auditor's office certainly really appreciate it. We would really like to get disbursements available online so that we can check through all the expenses. I honestly don't know if that is one of the things that is in there currently or not, but it'd be great to have some detailed things like that. So just wanted to express gratitude for that. I think it's really good for transparency. The only other things are, I see some landfill things on here, and I'm not as familiar with the history of the landfill issues, but I hear we have many issues with our landfill. So I hope that whoever is explaining these additional appropriations, because they are so much, if they could maybe do a little bit more explaining for the lay people who are in the audience who may not be as up to date on what's going on with that. And then the final thing is just my additional, or my continued inquiries into Mr. or Sheriff Scotty Maple's salary. I've looked at the laws pertaining to that. I do believe that it might be too much. I do not know if base pay includes any additional revenue. So that's what I would like to clarify, because Right now, his salary is exactly the amount of the prosecutor, and the law says it should be at minimum 90%. So with him being a little bit of a newer sheriff, coming from a very corrupt administration, following a corrupt administration, and actually being part of that prior corrupt administration, I would hope that we would be very careful about giving him the maximum amount. And I hope that this council is really looking over all of the appropriations and all of the budget items concerning the sheriff's office, because we do not want to see the same things repeated. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's, and everybody, okay. Ruben Cummings, got here just in time.
Mr. Cummins, can I join you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Tom Upton, I'm the president of the Charlestown Fire Protection District.
Oh,
so-
fine, thank you. If you would both state your name then, because we record it, and then it's in the recording first.
My name is Thomas Upton, as I said, I'm the president of the Charlestown Fire Protection District.
And Ruben Cummings, I'm with GSC, I work with the district on budget items.
Thank you.
So this is the same initial appropriation that was, approved in December, but the paperwork got lost somewhere, it never got put through the DLGF. And then we had it scheduled for last month, but in our communications, we had the wrong date, so we're here, hopefully for the final time.
Yes.
Right. But it's the exact same thing got approved in December, it's just.
And for
they
those
have
of you
to
that
pay
don't
for it.
understand, all appropriations fall off at the end of the calendar year in county government. So if we approve spending in December and the check didn't get written, the appropriation goes away and you have to go through all the steps again to do it. That's what's happening here this evening. Now, what do we have? A motion?
Make a motion to approve the $350,000 appropriation in services and charges and $250,000 in capital outlay.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Lenford with a second from Councilperson Bissing to approve additional appropriations for the Charlestown Fire Protection District in the amount of $350,000 for services and charges and $250,000 for capital outlay. Any further discussion?
Do we have some kind of what you're doing with it, or could we?
Yes, those appropriations are for equipment and for personnel. Right now, we've been in, high contact with the fire department, and we're pushing strongly for the hiring of 24-hour personnel because of the growth that's coming to the Charlestown area. So, I've been working with Chief Hill. As of now, we have brought on 3 additional full-time employees with another 3 that we're hoping to finalize within the next probably 45 days. We're looking at some additional funding, we hope, that can bring in some more revenue. And our end goal is to go to a 24-48 rotation with full-time firefighters within the protection district.
Yeah, well overdue.
Yes. And like I said, funding has been, it is a big issue. We've been working for the last 10 years as the board and the department of getting our equipment into a replacement schedule, and we have finally achieved that. So now, our big push is to bring the personnel on, like I say, incorporate that in with all of the new equipment stuff as we purchase that later on, so that everything, it will be sustainable from this point on.
What, a year or so ago, you had a fire truck, but you needed a building to put it in, or a ladder truck, or was it?
Well, with the reuse authority, when Charlestown had the old station right there across from the old gas company on 62, they requested to have that property back.
Right.
So they took the property back. In exchange for that, they donated some land to the fire department, and we have since replaced that building and have a new building there. And that's with, the new ladder truck that we bought, roughly about 5 years ago. It's stationed there, but we do have another ladder truck that is on order that is probably about 500 days out before we take delivery on it.
Great, thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the local health board appointment, and, I have made contact with a person, and I have not gotten their okay as yet, so we may have to just table that again. Doug,
Yes.
is it imperative we do that? I mean, if you've got enough as for a quorum right now?
Yes.
You do, thank you, okay. So we'll just table that till next, it's not really, we'll just leave it on the agenda. Brian Glover.
Good evening. Thank you all for taking your time today for our joint workshop. I appreciate you all taking time out of your day, and, I wish Ms. Howe was here because she put in a ton of work on that, and,
We can tell.
I hope you saw that it was fit and, ready to move forward, and we appreciate your comments and feedback on that. Secondly, I know you just asked Mr. Benfield if we had enough for a quorum. I believe there's 7 appointments to that board. We have 5 appointments that are there now. We're waiting on an appointment from the council and 1 appointment from the largest population municipality in the county, which is the city of Jet. They're supposed to make 3 recommendations to us, and we picked that 7th, appointment to the board. So that's what we're waiting on for that. But we do have a quorum. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's 5 there, Doug?
There's 4.
Yeah, he said that.
There's 4?
There's 4.
Who did we lose from the commissioners? Do you,
Dr. Stone was our board member, just let us know at the last meeting that he was, vacating.
okay, I apologize, so I wasn't aware of that. Okay. So moving on to the agenda, I apologize for the disruption there, but moving on to the agenda, I have a few requests tonight. We have an appropriation that we're asking for, an additional appropriation out of ARP, and I'll try to make it explanatory as I can. We're requesting $400,000 from ARP for land out at the landfill, contiguous property that we'll be using for soil and expansion of the landfill. Is contractually bound that the county provides soil for daily cover at the landfill. This will be used for the purchase of that property. Secondly, out of CUNCAP, we're asking for an additional appropriation for the Old Salem Road project. This is for property that was just decided upon in court. It was a purchase of a property for the Old Salem Road expansion. This was, since it was a federally funded project and we were the LPA, we have to pay this $210,000, and it will be reimbursed to us at 100% by NDOT. So this is gonna be an expenditure out, and we receiving that money back, okay? Next up is an additional appropriation out of highway for parts, maintenance, and repair. Pretty self-explanatory. This is our time to kind of stock up on some parts, do some road repairs, getting ready to get into paving season, so this is stuff that we'll use moving forward through the season. On the refunding on the landfill bonds, if I can skip past those, I'll come back and clarify those in a little bit more detail. If I can move on to the GIS services, we're asking for an additional appropriations for, this will be for software for Brian Dixon, our county engineer, to be able to interact with our existing GIS program and allow him to add stuff in there like drainage, piping, culverts, anything like that, so we can document it on the GIS program. So this just allows him to interface with that and gives him that interface. So circling back to the landfill bonds and to Ms. Blessett's request, and there was some posts I was made aware of today that there were some really comments made about this that are definitely not true. So number one, these are not surety bonds. These are not taxpayer dollars, and refunding of money of any to the landfill, that's simply not the case. What you have on your first additional appropriation is the refunding bond 2023 landfill. We had bonds that are 2011 and 2013 bonds that we refunded, and another name for that would be refinanced. So we refinanced those bonds at a lower interest rate so we could pull principal and capital out of that to use for projects moving forward. Keep in mind that all of these bonds are paid for by revenue from the landfill. These are not taxpayer dollars. These are not county dollars in any way. These are revenues that come into the landfill. They specifically walk up to our office twice a year, hand Sarah a check. The money goes into an account. We take that money and appropriate it to pay the bonds. So this is not taxpayer dollars, not surety bonds. This is not any refundable money to the landfill whatsoever, okay? So the first one is a refunding or a refinancing of the 2013 bonds into a 2023 refunding bond, again, to gain capital out of that. Asking for an additional, we're really an appropriation for principal of $330,000 and interest of $203,070 to pay those payments. Again, that money has been deposited in our account by the landfill. It's a pass-through, we pay that bond. Next up is the new general obligation bond of 2023 landfill. This is an interest-only payment. This again is for the west phase barrier wall project that we will be completing probably end of May, beginning of June timeframe. If anybody's been around for a while, they understand how important this is. This brings us into compliance with IDEM. This basically wraps the property of the barrier wall, keeps from any type of leachate or anything leaving the landfill. This was a project that's pushed for by IDEM. It's been going on for years. We're finally going to finish that project. Like I said, the end of May, beginning of June. You'll notice that additional appropriation is interest. It is interest only until 2033, and then they will start making principal payments then. And when I say they, again, this is money from landfill revenues that pay those bonds. Okay? Any questions at all?
How many acres are we buying with $400,000?
I think it's approximately 61.
So you say you're using.
And let me rephrase. That is a placeholder amount. It could be more, it could be less. We are in negotiations with that owner as we speak.
Say you're using that for dirt, so do you plan on scraping dirt from that site for coverage on the operation of the landfill? And then is there the possibility to use that for landfill purposes, specifically that 61 acres, or is it?
The short answer to that would be no, because we would have to go through the same process that we are now with a barrier wall. You would have to put in some sort of barrier to keep that to be used as airspace. I think that's the word you're looking for, is additional airspace. It will not. It will be used for things like the gas collection system, their maintenance shop, and things like that. We will use it for what I would consider hard assets moving forward, but the majority of that would be used for soil for daily cover.
How much soil is there above the bedrock?
I couldn't begin to answer that, Kevin. That's something that the engineers would have to provide for us. We've been told that soil that is there should last us to the 2040, 2045 timeframe, which is the existing airspace of the landfill.
Okay.
That gets us to that point.
That's what I was.
I'm sorry, I think I know where you're going now. Yes, this purchase of soil gets us to that time of closure, if that makes sense. Going with today's rate of what is going into the landfill at today's rate.
What direction is that 61 acres at? If you're at the landfill, or it connects, or has its name?
It's west.
Is it west?
Kind of west, northwest a little bit.
You got a highway there, don't you, or is it in
The
between?
highway runs east and west. The highway south is south of the landfill now.
So it's toward Borden area.
It's back towards the Wilson Switch Road.
I mean,
You said
Borden
west.
is not gonna touch Borden,
No, I know that, but I'm just trying to get a feel for which way,
west.
west of the, okay.
It's contiguous property to the existing landfill footprint as it sits now.
Okay.
I can state that. If you'd like to get a picture of it, I
No,
can
I
provide it to you. No, I mean, that's a valid question. I can provide that. It's not a
So
problem.
where their garage and their workshops at, is that gonna be used for something? Cause you're just saying you're gonna use
Yes, the way the landfill is constructed, the maintenance shop actually sits on usable airspace.
it. Good.
So what we'll do is we'll move the shed to this new area. We'll go through a minor modification, which is a paperwork process through IDEM, and have them recognize that as airspace, and then you can use that as airspace moving forward.
I was out there last week and toured the whole place for about 2 hours. And when they went through the whole process of the changes that would be made, of relocation of the garage, like Mr. Grove just said.
Good.
And allow for more airspace.
Sounds good.
Make a motion to approve the additional appropriations in 8950, appropriation in 1138 appropriations in 1176, 4624, 4623, and 4964.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Langford with a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the additional appropriations as listed by Mr. Langford. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mark.
And again, please take time to read through that, employee handbook mods and, provide any feedback to the end, so we can kind of get that on your agenda for May. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaufman?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I have before you this one item here, this is the Clark County Drainage Board. This is equipment of $1,901.58. This kind of piggybacks on the appropriation right before. The appropriation before was for the was for the software. This is for the actual computer and hardware that's gonna take to do this. This will allow Mr. Dixon to be able to document, the outfalls, national water course drains, he'll be able to take pictures, get them uploaded, and get them right into the GIS system there. It helps us to be compliant with our MS4. And so that's what that appropriation is a request for.
Make a motion to approve additional appropriation of Fund 1000 for equipment in the amount of $1,901.58.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Miller with a second from Councilperson Doherty to approve the additional appropriation, for the drainage. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Sheriff's Department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Diane Shirley with the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff actually has just one item on the agenda for tonight. It is Fund 4955, it's expense and seizure. This money is generated from local expenditure, like forfeit cases that we work. And what we're wanting to do is everything right now is in equipment, and we're wanting to move 2,000 of that to buy money.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer out of 4955 for 2,000.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Abbott to approve the transfer as requested in Fund 4955. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clark County Health Department.
Good evening, Doug Denville, Clark County Health Department.
Good evening.
Just got a couple things this evening. We're asking for an additional appropriation in Fund 8224 for equipment. Gonna be buying another vaccine cooler and a cloud-based monitoring system so I can keep track of in case of a power outage or something like that. Also, in Fund 8212, we're asking for a transfer of $1,000 from supplies to contract services. White on White Services, we're asking for another transfer of $2,000 from rent to equipment. And I believe the amendment tonight is for Fund 8216. This is transfer to take $2,197.92 and move that into office rent.
What did you say, did you say a cooler?
Yeah, vaccine cooler.
Okay.
Yeah. Vaccine cooler and a monitoring system.
Doug,
Yes.
on, 8224, immunization vaccines, additional appropriation. Are we being, do we have access to free vaccines?
Yes, we have vaccine through, if you're insured, we have vaccine for children that are uninsured, and we have vaccine for adults that are uninsured as well.
And this $25,000 request for appropriation is outside of that supply chain?
The $20,000 appropriation is a grant that we have, and it's gonna allow us to buy equipment to store all this vaccine we're getting.
So the appropriation for the immunization vaccines is not for the vaccines,
Not itself, no,
the medications themselves?
no, this is just equipment.
And who owns this storage equipment after it's purchased?
The county will own it indefinitely.
You store vaccines for anyone else?
No,
You purchase vaccines for anyone else?
no.
Thank you.
Sure.
Motion to approve the Clark County Health Department immunization vaccines additional appropriation of 8224 for 20,000. The public health prep transfer appropriations from 8212 for 1,000 to 8212 for 1,000, and Ryan White Service transfer of appropriations from 8234 for 2,000 to 8234 for the same.
And the 8216 also, that's the additional that he explained.
Yes, yes.
That's the transfer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion from Councilperson Bissing with a second from Councilperson Abbott to approve the additional appropriation in 8224 and the transfers as requested in 8212, 8234, and 8216. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public defender, whoever.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
The good news is I'm not here to ask for anything. When I asked to be put on the agenda, it seemed as though we might have some major changes this summer based on some legislation that the Indiana House and Senate were considering. That has changed somewhat. Let me give you some background. As you know, a significant portion of our funding comes from the Indiana Public Defender Commission, provided we meet with their standards. That does not apply to the money that we spend representing people who are charged with misdemeanors. There are currently no reimbursement for misdemeanor representation. There was a bill that had passed, it originated in the Senate, it passed the House. It was going to begin a pilot program to explore the feasibility of reimbursing for misdemeanors, and Clark County was identified as one of the 6 pilot counties within that legislation. We were identified as one of the pilot counties because along with Allen County, we're the farthest out, the most non-compliant with the commission recommendations on how many misdemeanors you should assign a person in a given quarter or year. We're more than 400% of what the recommendations are. This reimbursement pilot program was, as initially drafted, going to start this summer in July, which is why I hurried up and got on the agenda to appear in front of you. On the day of last month's council meeting, it passed, the final passed the Senate, but with some last minute changes. So now the pilot program won't start until next summer. And Clark County is no longer identified specifically by name in the legislation, although there are 12 counties are allowed to participate in the pilot program. They're none of them named, they're just to be selected by the Public Defender Commission. So we may still qualify as a pilot county, maybe in front of you in the coming year, asking to agree to participate in this pilot program, but it's no longer scheduled to begin in the next less than 3 months. So it's got quite a bit less urgency. It's also somewhat less good in that, as initially drafted, the pilot counties would receive 100% reimbursement for every dollar spent on misdemeanor representation. That was changed at the last minute to 40%, which is the same as our standard reimbursement on the felony cases we do. And so while it's still a financial benefit, it would still help us get in compliance with the recommendations the commission makes on caseload assignments. It would no longer cover the entire cost of the misdemeanor representation, so it will be less of a financial benefit than as originally drafted, but I will come to you and submit to you that it's worth participating when the time comes.
Why
So
do they-
Go ahead.
Why do they go from 100% to 40%?
I do not know the answer to that question. My understanding in speaking with the director of the Public Defender Commission is it was essentially the decision of one particular state senator who represents the district that's based in Marion County, whether they would wanted to spend less money or whether they wanted to incorporate more counties by spending less money per county, because they did double the number of pilot counties while reducing the reimbursement from 100% to 40%, or whether whatever the reasoning, I do not know, and I'm not certain. I don't know enough about the inner workings of the legislature, as some of you do, to know exactly who's got the influence within the state senate to have essentially single-handedly amended that bill at the 11th hour. So I can't tell you why.
So did this new, I guess, amendment pass?
It did. The bill is passed and the pilot program is scheduled to commence July 1st, 2025. And we'll still be eligible to, in speaking with the director, I think we're quite likely to be selected as one of the 12 pilot counties if we should choose to participate, but that will be your decision when the time comes.
Maybe I can do quick math here.
40% is gonna cost us more money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just said we're at 400%. So let's say we have one
It is.
deputy PD making 100,000, covering 400% of the workload. If we were to get in compliance, we'd have to have 4 of them.
Hire three
So let's
more
say-
and get 40% reimbursement, that's right.
So if let's say we're spending $100,000 for one deputy PD right now. If we had to hire 4 to be in compliance, that's 400,000. If we get 40% of that, that's 160,000 back in reimbursement. That means we're out 240,000, when right now we're only at 100.
You're right, it will cost more. It is a
Okay.
disappointment.
Okay.
When they were gonna cover 100% of it for 5 years, it was gonna be a much easier sell.
Yeah.
Now, the selling point is it's better policy and we don't have to foot the whole bill.
Yeah. Okay.
But it will cost more money than we're currently spending to participate in the pilot program. Whereas, as originally drafted, it would save us the $100,000 that we're currently paying. So it has gotten substantially worse for us to choose to participate in the pilot program. While I would still tell you it would be a good thing overall for the county, but I cannot tell you it would save you money.
Right, okay. Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I was excited to come and tell you they were gonna pick up the bill that we're already spending on misdemeanors, and we were gonna get to hire more people, and it wasn't gonna cost you a dime, and then it got changed at the very last second.
Right. Makes
So-
sense, okay.
Was Marion County one of the 6 identified in the previous?
Nope.
prior-
They're not getting the money anyhow.
They weren't.
Well, and they weren't. They very well asked to be selected as one of the pilot counties now.
But now they also are, okay.
And they may be in compliance already, so.
I guarantee they're.
Probably not, but of the 6 pilot counties when they were identified, they had 2 that were out of compliance by the numbers as far as caseloads, 2 that were out of compliance in terms of what they were paying, and 2 that were essentially already in compliance. I think the idea was to get a cross-section and see what effect it had between those 6 counties as to whether those counties like us that were substantially out of compliance had improved outcomes as a result of coming into compliance with the commission standards.
It just seems to me that every time we have one of those letters from the Public Defenders Commission, it always seems to apply better to people like Marion County than it does to someone like Clark County.
It is funny how that happens, and you're not wrong.
Thanks,
She's
Chief.
asking, I'm thinking.
That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you'll have a long session, and this is, as I said, not quite as urgent as it seemed like it was going to be. So, like I said, I'll answer any questions you might have. Otherwise, I'll come back and see you about it when we have a more concrete idea. And I will try to convince you that although it's spending more money, it would be a worthwhile investment. Understanding that it'd be better if I were here to tell you that they were gonna pick up the bill and you were gonna get to spend less money and have more service for it.
If it's a quick answer, let's take it. If it's not, we'll discuss this later. How's it been since January 1 of this year, consolidating a couple of our part-time contracts? How's that worked out?
It's worked out well. It hasn't had much impact on the misdemeanors that we're talking about.
Right.
Our numbers I've got our first quarter numbers finished this week, and
I'd love to see them.
we should sit down and talk soon. We trimmed some contracts, and we're still doing fine. In fact, we've still got a little bit of headroom.
That's great. I was expecting that to be the case. honestly.
And you were correct. We're looking at, the fact that we've still got some headroom means we've probably got some more areas where we could gain some. The dichotomy between what we get reimbursed for and what we don't makes us essentially, at least on paper, make a firewall between the two, because our reimbursed folks are not supposed to have any formal appearance on any non-reimbursed case. Now, that said, the fact that we've increased the full-time people has allowed some of my people who are in the office in the courthouse all the time to cover for the truly overwhelmed person who's catching 800 to 1,000 misdemeanors a year, without filing a formal appearance and violating the separation between the two. But we could probably shave another contract in terms of the felony stuff.
Let's wait another quarter and see maybe.
Well, and what I'd like to talk to you about, all of you about, is winding down 3 part-time contracts and hiring another full-time person, which at 350% contracts ought to slightly exceed the amount you pay for one full-time person in benefits.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see. No guarantees, but I think it'd be worth talking about.
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
I have one more question. So if you get these 4 new people, you gotta have more room?
Yeah. Well, yes or no. There are a couple of ways we could have done it. And if I'd come here to say that we're gonna pay 100% of the cost, I was gonna tell you that we could either hire 2 full-time people and probably get within compliance, or we could create 4 or 5 part-time contracts. I do not like the contract option as well, in part because we've had a harder time keeping people in the contracts, and in part because you don't get all of their time. They end up, their time is competing with their private practice. But the benefit to it, in part, is you don't pay benefits, and in part is you don't need the office space to the same degree. So it would be great to have extra space if we were gonna add these positions, especially full-time positions, but there are ways to add people without further space if we do it on an independent contractor basis.
Great point, Kevin. Great point.
Didn't we also need to add an extra staff per every?
To remain adequately staffed, which affects how many cases you can assign, you have to have at least 1 fewer administrative personnel than you have attorney. So
I have a staff person.
no matter, and it's an odd, the ratio becomes odd, because if you've got 2 lawyers, you need 1 staff person for the book to be adequately staffed. If you've got 105 lawyers, you need 104 administrative staff people for them all to be adequately staffed. Now, it's not an all or nothing proposition. You can have some lawyers who are adequately staffed and some who are inadequately staffed for numbers purposes. So it gets to be about juggling around where you need the caseload assignments and who you deem adequately staffed.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tom Allen, Court Administrator. I have 3 items. These are all relating to Veterans Court grants. And other than that, what is in the request is all the information that I have, because whoever submitted these requests did not send them to me so that I would know what questions they
We got the background paperwork.
All right. I would just say the first is for 8235, an additional appropriation of 1896.80 for travel. If you have that paperwork, I don't know if that's for the RISE conference or not, but it would be coming from grant funds. Then
Yeah, it doesn't say that, it's just for coming out of grant fund.
the only reason I'm bringing up RISE is because Dave Munden, who had been the Veterans Court person last year, did go to RISE. Jamie Miller, who's the Veterans Court person now, will be going to RISE. That's at the end of May. So I'm making a guess.
Mileage for case manager?
I'm sorry?
It says mileage for case manager.
Okay, that's something entirely different than where they could go out and do the visits. So like I said, I was totally guessing.
It's strange that, because it's an odd number.
You're right. Yeah, no.
Well, it's Brian specific mileage
It's-
claim.
Yeah, it must be something specific,
I don't
because.
know if Jessica has more information on that. But anyway, then in 88-87, an additional appropriation for supplies of $2,900.11, and a reduction in the appropriation in 88-87 of $5,300 from drug screening.
What do you, your supplies, so what supplies are you buying, Tom?
As I said, I don't have any other information other than what was submitted in the claim, because the person that submitted the request didn't send it to me, so that I could ask that question.
Is drug screening?
8887 is for drug screenings. It's for the actual drug.
Yeah, drug testing.
Drug testing kits, that's the supplies.
Yeah. Okay, and then the, 1896 out of 8235 is for mileage. Okay. Make a motion to approve the appropriation out of 8235, 8287, and the reduction of appropriation in 8887.
Second.
A motion from Councilperson Lanford with a second from Councilperson Doherty to approve the additional appropriation request in 8235 and 8887, and the reduction of appropriation in 8887. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1 with Councilperson Abbott.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, how long has it been since your all's handbook has been updated?
The most recent handbook was in, July of 2020, and, Leanne, myself, and Henry Ford, who has an HR background before he became a probation officer, and he is the chief deputy probation officer. We've been meeting every Friday for about 2 months, going through the court handbook. We anticipate that, I'll have those changes ready to present to the Board of Judges, probably by the end of this month. I hope to have, their feedback and make any changes that they want so that they can make final approval of the handbook by, June 1st. The handbook would then become effective July 1st. And we'll be able then to give our employees 30 days to digest what changes we had. One of the goals that we had in reviewing the handbook, was to try to align the county's handbook and the court's handbook as much as we can. I'm not gonna promise you that they will be exactly the same, but we are going to attempt to align those as much as we can. The other thing that, I've been involved with, Leanne and the others, here at the county in our move towards the new timekeeping system. As you know, the county, courts have been on a timekeeping system for about a little over 3 years, almost 3.5 years. It's been helpful. I don't think the program that we've had is as robust as the one that we're going to. There are reports and things that we can run in that program, but I think the new one will have a lot more things that we can utilize. I can tell you that since January 1, I've been working diligently with all of our departments, probation, community corrections, and all the court staff, to gain better control over comp time. I think going to a real-time punch system will be beneficial to everyone, including the courts. There are some things with rounding that I absolutely do not like. I don't know that I would say people are intentionally using rounding to their benefit, but whether they are or they are not, it is to the county's detriment. And there is some kind of baked in comp time because of it. So I think real time will be much, much better. We are getting a better handle. I need to run a report for the first quarter on how much comp time has been accrued. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but, so I'll run January, February, and March and see where we are as compared to a fourth of the year last year. ran the report in January, I was not pleased with the amount of comp time that I saw.
I'm very optimistic this is gonna help get a handle on this.
So I will tell you though, just as Leanne was talking about, that her goal is to have the handbook and the timekeeping system kind of go hand in hand. I've been trying to anticipate the changes, that we will be making and that the county will be making. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to the workshop, is to see how receptive you were to certain things, so that I know, kind of gives me some guidance on where to push the court handbook. But our contract currently runs through September 15th. I have to provide them 60 days notice. So what we will do then is June 1st, I'll provide that notice. We will have 30 days. We don't anticipate going live on the new system. We'll continue to use the one we have. We won't go live on the new system until July 1st, and we're gonna use you all as guinea pigs to see how that works out.
Yeah.
But I've been involved with Leanne in many of the training sessions, and in fact, how it gets built, the rules that are put in. She's been fantastic in getting this done, and we appreciate that the county is gonna be picking up the cost of that. We'll be able to shift some funds away from the cost that we've had before.
Because it's cheaper than what you guys are paying for your timekeeping system, right?
There'll be some marginal savings, I think. It's not as much as what I would have hoped for, but it is gonna be less. I just don't think it's gonna be thousands and thousands less, but.
But we'll see that deducted from your services and charges contract budget next year.
Right, yeah, we won't need that. So, yeah, I think it's going well, but that's our plan, so, I don't know when the rest of the county will go live on the new one. But whenever that is, we plan to go live July 1, and we'll make our handbook effective July 1, so that.
Do we still have employees working from home since COVID?
There are 2 courts that are still rotating people from home.
How's that working out?
I would have to get feedback from their judges, but, they continue to do it, so I assume it works for them. All right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Any corrections?
Good evening.
I'm Gladys, I think you'll know that. The first thing on the agenda for us is the additional appropriation for, contract services. This was a returned check in 2021. It came out of fund, it's a grant fund, 9106 for ACP, and they were our provider for our MAST program at that time. They just didn't cash the check. So, it went back into the grant, and we need to appropriate it to just pay it back out.
Okay.
And then the next 3 lines are for the Justice Partners Addiction Transfer. The grantor approval was sent to Jessica through Danielle and, Indiana Office of Court Services, for these transfers. It's being transferred out of 100 series, for 2 part-time assessors that we no longer have, and the grant will end on September 30th. And we will no longer, anybody in the state will no longer be funded out of this account. So this grant ends, so there's no sense in hiring anybody in those positions for that. So we're transferring that over, and instead of, we have some, for travel and for supplies. And under supplies, that includes taking care of, basically participant services for clients.
Can you explain the travel, $2,000, where it's going, or?
It's just going into travel for any training that might be needed for, this is a shared grant for probation, community corrections, and, some problem-solving court staffs.
Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve, the initial appropriation in 9106 and the transfers of appropriation from 8896 from part-time to supplies, part-time to travel, and FICA Medicare to travel.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the additional appropriation in 9106 and the transfers as listed in 8896. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Surveyor's office.
I'm Mark Hebb with the Clark County Surveyor's Office. I'm coming in to ask for additional appropriations to basically cover, victim calls pay, because David Ruckman didn't understand that the appropriation that he got for him last year would fall off at the end of the year, so.
I just wanna make a comment.
Yeah,
We
go
got,
ahead.
we got a whole new department there, and,
Right.
you know, Mr. Rockland and Victor and Mark here are just basically brand new to county government. So it's taken a while. I will say kudos to Mark. He's walked in here and just stepped right in and learning the system and working on it, doing very well. So this is just something that's needed to kind of correct something that was just a misunderstanding somewhat of how the whole county system works and everything.
So this is in the salary ordinance.
Yeah, it was a salary ordinance back
It
in
just is not
October,
funded.
I think October of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we had a
I
part-time.
remember that,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
that's when,
want to make sure that.
well, we lost an
That
employee
carries
and we
through.
didn't have anybody to fill that position, so we created that part-time position to take care of that. And then we went ahead and hired in Mark as to be the deputy.
And the appropriation is the same.
No, the salary is the same.
So- Salary's the same.
Salary is the same.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve additional appropriation surveys perpetuation fund of the 1202 part-time 15,000, personnel services 4215, FICA Medicare 1470, and PERF for 536.
Okay.
I have a motion from Councilperson Miller with a second from Councilperson Grooms to approve the additional appropriations in 1202 as requested. Any further discussion?
How many people do you have in your office?
Myself, Victor, who is part-time, and then Dave Ruckman, so.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian Lynch, is there anyone here from?
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
Pitch in.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer appropriation of $10 from supplies to P.O. Box roll.
Second.
If we must.
Motion by Councilperson Lanford with a second from Councilperson Doherty to approve the transfer in County General of $10 from supplies to box rent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Jeff Library.
Yes. Okay, I received this letter, that we have an appointment to the Jeffersonville Township Public Library Board, with the expiration of Linda Baker's term. And they would recommend that we reappoint her. So if anybody wants to see this, or
I would make a motion that Linda
you wanna make a motion?
Second.
Baker be reappointed as a member of the township, Jefferson Township Library Board.
Motion by Councilperson Grooms with a second from Councilperson Abbott to reappoint Linda Baker to the Jeffersonville Township Library Board.
She's a very dedicated person.
Thank you. I did.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We've taken care of all the amendments, correct? Are there any reports or comments from any?
I have a question, and I hate to put Jack on the spot, but the screen, you know, the cameras, where are we at on that? I've been,
We got some bids on that, and, we're reviewing those bids. We're not gonna be required, you know, actual requirement by state legislature is still a little ways off. And when we built this building, we did put in some features just in case we would have to do that. This is to finish those features out and everything, so we did we got some prices out of it. Sabrina's been taking care of that, she's also interviewed some of the prospective proposals.
so you're thinking it's in the works?
Yeah,
Right.
we're moving forward like
Jack.
that, from when it was initiated in the legislature last year, we started working on it.
So theoretically, when the equipment comes in, this place is already hardwired
That's right,
to support that.
that's right,
Great.
Jack, when that claim comes for the council, it should come out of the IT fund.
yes.
There's plenty of money in that. and
That's
where-
right.
That's the best place for
That
that.
was the intention.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. Any further public comments? Anybody have anything to say?
I was out of town, but I was told that tornado was gonna hit this building, but it lifted up and went over, is that right?
Actually, it went kind of northeast of here,
Close by?
it went close by, yeah.
Got really lucky.
We were fortunate.
I wanna make, more comment on our health board appointment. So if any other council members
Yes.
have a suggestion on our appointment to the health board, and is Doug still here?
No, he left it.
Did Doug have,
Doug would like either a veterinarian or a physician on that board.
Wasn't there also political affiliation it had to be?
If we go first, it doesn't matter, then the commissioners will have to follow through
Yeah,
on
we'll
that,
have to
so.
follow
If we
the
get to it first, no, but yes, there is political affiliation.
Yes.
Okay.
and you've reached out to one,
I reached out to Dr. Goff.
Well, who just vacated? I think that also plays a factor there.
Pardon?
Who just vacated?
Stone?
We vacated, gosh, I just talked to Doug today, and I forgot the guy's name.
Yeah, that's the thing.
like Chris?
There's two spaces for two Democrats and one
Yeah.
Republican on the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, that's what Doug told me.
So,
yes, if
if
any
we would have done it tonight, if
council
I-
members have a suggestion.
yeah, if
While we're waiting-
anybody
While we're waiting to
does,
hear back from Dr. Goff.
knows a physician, I mean, he would really like some medical people on that board, which stands to reason, so, yeah, please, everybody can. It'd be
Dr.
wonderful.
Goff would be an excellent.
He would.
I think so too. I don't know if I don't have his personal number. I've just left, a message with someone at his place of business.
I'll try to reach out to him too.
Cause if you think he would, we could make that,
If I was running, I don't think that's.
we could do the appointment pending his approval. If that,
Employee medallion.
but I don't really think we should.
No.
Unless somebody really knows. Okay. Attorney comments.
Next time Ryan Lynch comes and asks for this type of transfer, I think we should
Make your comment.
before you make an approval of it.
Cost more than gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Auditor comments.
Just the minutes and the appropriation orders for Charlestown Township Fire.
Oh, we need to sign that.
Yeah.
Yes. I do have one other comment. I received this letter in the mail here with no return address, to us, and what is it signed? A concerned citizen regarding an issue that was had with a ambulance call. And although we don't have anything to do with those actions, I will present this to Dr. Yeazel or the health department to see if they wanna check into
Yes,
it.
copy of that too.
Did you get one too?
No, we didn't.
I'll let you
No.
look at that, so. I'll let you have it and then we'll get it to the health department, so. Anything else anybody has? I think we had a very good meeting with the commissioners, and I really appreciate that they are keeping us informed along the way on this and not hitting us all at once with it, so.
Madam President, I do have a question.
Yes.
This sheet, I'm trying to educate myself on these budget. This sheet has no title at the top.
Okay, I can explain what that is. I asked the auditor's office to put that together, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, so when the DLGF certifies our budget, it is broken down into 3 different categories in county general, which that what you're looking at there is just county general.
Okay.
So you have property taxes,
Got it.
income taxes, and miscellaneous revenue. In fact, I think income taxes is a line item on that miscellaneous revenue. So it's really miscellaneous revenue and property taxes. So when our financial advisor, Jackie Clemens, when she puts our budget order together and projects our 2024 revenue, part of the formula she uses to project out our revenue is all of our miscellaneous revenue. So interest on our investments, so when we have money in the bank, what interest we're making on those deposits. Court costs and fees that get sent over to county general. Money from plan commission fees get sent over to county general, they used to. So it's all, they're all broken down there. And the first column is what was projected for 2024. And then the next column is what the actual receipts were for first quarter.
Okay.
I asked the auditor's office to put that together because I want to track what our actual revenue is compared to what our projected revenue was.
So that
that
second column is
the first quarter.
First quarter actual.
First quarter. The first column
This
is
is year.
projected for the year, the whole year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. Good meeting.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Turn off the microphones.